What's up, y'all? I'm back with another one. This is six most disturbing rare medical disorders. Let's just get into it. I'm into this type of shit, medical stuff. Let's just go.
Dissociative fugue. Dissociative fugue is a rare condition where a person forgets everything about themselves and their identity.
Oh,
However,
that's
what
scary.
separates a fugue state from something like amnesia is that the person suffering from this condition is not confused or scared by the sudden memory loss. Instead, they're fully aware of their surroundings and often travel to some faraway location almost as if they're searching for something. In
Hmm.
some cases, the patient can even start a whole new, fully functioning life under a brand new name, which is probably the
Different.
scariest symptom of this disorder. It's almost like the person you recognize as your own self takes a back seat while someone else controls your body.
That's
These
scary.
second lives can look so normal that unless someone knew the person before, they'd have no idea they were speaking to someone experiencing such a disturbing condition. Someone can also
Interesting.
spend months trapped as this alternative self, living a brand new life, while to their loved ones, they're a missing person. Now, we still don't have a clear picture of how such a disorder is even possible, but we do know that it has a strong correlation with amnesia.
Ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna speed his voice up a little bit. If you want to watch the original video, link is gonna be in the description, but I am gonna speed his voice up just a little bit. Just so you know. Sorry.
And more
Give it a
importantly,
second.
dissociative identity disorder, which is also known as multiple personality disorder. As for what causes such an extreme disorder in
Interesting.
the first place, the reasons can range from severe mental and physical trauma to the use of psychotropic substances, and in some cases,
If you don't want it being sped up, what you could do is slow it down. It works just the
even
same.
as a side effect of dementia. Fortunately, there hasn't been a single case of dissociative fugue becoming a permanent part of someone's life. All patients eventually come to their senses, only to find themselves in an unfamiliar location with no recollection of how they got there. However, while some regain their memories shortly after emerging from their fugue state, others remain unable to recall anything about themselves, which is what happened with Jeffrey Allen Ingram. On the 10th of September 2006, Jeff woke up on a sidewalk in Denver, Colorado. Now, of course, waking up on the sidewalk would be distressing enough on its own, but Jeff had to face an even harsher reality. He had no memory of who he was and how he got there.
It was early in the morning.
Stop taking meeting notes and let ClickUp AI Note Taker do it for you. It allows you to focus on your meetings.
I'm not sure at what time. It looked like the sun was just starting to come up, so there was some light there. I was half picking myself off of the ground, and I had no idea where I was. I didn't recognize no buildings, no streets, no nothing.
He frantically searched his pockets, hoping to find an ID or any other document that had his name. Unfortunately, all he found was $8 in cash. After failing to remember a single detail about his past, Jeff turned to the people in the vicinity to ask for help. Sadly, they were less helpful than he had hoped. To them, Jeff looked like a crazy person on drugs.
And it was extremely terrifying. They turned me away, as if I was, someone that lives off of the streets or was some kind of a psychotic person, like you don't know where you are kind of thing.
Without any other option at his disposal, Jeff started working toward the most logical solution he could think of at the time, finding a hospital. However, he didn't have
Wow.
enough money on hand to get a cab, so he set off on foot and eventually found a hospital after walking continuously for 8 hours. But due to his complete memory loss, even
Man, yo, the mind is fucking crazy as shit. Like, and it's kind of the mind is kind of fragile because it's like it's fragile and crazy as fuck. Like, nigga, how are you making two fucking different lives and shit and being confused and I don't know. The brain is crazy as
getting an
shit.
appointment at a hospital was a challenge.
And I ended up walking into Denver Health. I walked up to where they take the admissions and stuff like that, and
Y'all ain't gotta be
said
that
I need
close
help.
up
They
to
go,
his
okay,
face like
well,
that.
what is your name?
Like, back the camera
I said,
up.
I have no idea. That's what I'm here for. She says, well, you got to put something down. I said, I don't know my name. Like, you guys don't understand.
But we can't even see the nigga chin over the
So
top of his
they
fucking
just gave
head.
me a name and stuff there.
Back the
John Doe.
fucking camera up.
Still drilled me. What's your name? I said, I don't know. And I'm in tears at this time. I'm shaking really, really bad. I can barely stand up.
While in the hospital, the doctors tried everything they could, from medication to therapy, to help him recover his memory. But even after 6 weeks of treatment, Jeff had zero clue about his identity. The only option he had left was to make his face as famous as possible so maybe someone from his previous life could identify him. So
Oh,
on
I'm
October
about to
22nd, he
say.
went on to national TV
I'm like, how does that make sense? I don't know who I am. Let me go become fucking famous. I'm like, okay. I'm about to say, okay, he's trying to find his family. My bad. My brain was being negative and fucked
to
up.
ask for help.
I don't know. It's hard to explain. I just try to look for information in my head, and it's not there.
It's just blank.
Yeah.
That's
What's the
scary
hardest part
though.
about that then? About not knowing?
It's very stressful, yes.
Can you do me a favor? Can you take off your hat so we can see what you look like without the baseball cap? Because people may remember you that way. And do you know if you always wore glasses or you just have no idea?
I have no idea.
Why don't you take those off as well so we can see what it looks like without the glasses?
Where the fuck did you get the glasses? So he just okay. So he just woke up like that and
Luckily, his fiancée, Penny Hansen, recognized him and immediately contacted the police. She also gave them pictures of the two together to prove that she was telling the truth.
Jeffrey Ingram hugged his fiancée today, who just 24 hours ago he couldn't even identify. He didn't even know himself.
As it turned out, Jeff was a 40-year-old machinist from Olympia, Washington. On September 6th, he went out to visit his friend in Canada who was dying of cancer, and that's when he went into his fugue state for the next 4 days. The stress of knowing that a dear friend could pass away at any moment due to terminal illness was likely what triggered the disorder. However, it's important to note that this wasn't the first time something like this happened to Jeff. He had experienced the same issue twice before, with him going missing for 9 whole months back in 1995. Though he did regain his memory quickly after waking up from that fugue state. Unfortunately, the same did not happen in 2006. As romantic as it would have been, he didn't regain his memory after seeing his fiancée after nearly 2 months. And it took years for him to readjust into his old life. In order to prevent such confusion in the future, Ingram ordered GPS shoes and had his identity information tattooed on him.
not GPS
He also started wearing a
shoes.
zip disc with medical information around his neck. The most unsettling part of the incident, however, was that he remembered having 2 children who died in a car accident.
And what came out of that? Any clues?
A few clues that I might have worked in New York or in the New York area,
This nigga possessed? The fuck?
that I did have a family,
That you did have a family.
a wife and 2 kids, and they were all killed in a car crash somewhere by a drunk driver. Maybe in the New York area, we're not sure.
But according to Penny, Jeff never had any children before. As to why he remembered something so traumatizing even though it wasn't true, we'll never know for sure.
His mind is fucked.
Have you ever noticed
Really
how difficult
fucked.
it is to find and cancel active subscriptions?
Motherfucker, no. Shout out to him though.
Alien hand syndrome. Alien hand syndrome
Man.
is exactly what it sounds like. A person
Hmm?
loses control over one of their hands, usually the
What?
left. This quote, alien hand, moves on its own, often in unpredictable and creepy ways, making the patients believe that the hand attached to their
Shit.
body is not theirs. What makes this condition even more unsettling is how the alien hand can directly contradict the other. Imagine flipping on a light switch only for your rogue hand to immediately switch it back off. It can also be violent towards the patient, with some reports of the affected hand trying to choke the patient, which is a
What?
truly disturbing thing to experience. And while we don't fully know why something like this occurs,
It's
we
like
do
a
know that it's
nerve
more
thing?
common in people who have undergone split brain surgery in the past. For those who don't know,
Mm.
our brain consists of 2 hemispheres that are connected in the middle with a bridge of nerves. Our motor functions are also split between
That
the 2
actually might
halves.
make some
The left brain
sense.
controls our right side, while the right brain controls the left. More importantly, the left hemisphere governs our ability to speak. It's where our language centers are housed, the part of us that can articulate thoughts. In a sense, it's the voice of who we are. However, during a split brain surgery, the corpus callosum, which is the bridge that connects the 2 hemispheres, is cut to treat severe drug-resistant epilepsy. And as the theory
Wow.
goes, split brain surgery removes the right brain's ability to communicate its intentions with the left brain, which, as we discussed, controls speech. In silence, the right brain remains conscious, aware, and functioning, but with no voice to express itself. And since it doesn't have a way to vocalize its intentions, the right brain often resorts to moving the hand under its control. A real-life example of this is Karen Byrne in New Jersey. She had the split brain surgery when she was 27 years old to treat epilepsy, and it was a success. That is, until her left hand started moving on its own. In an interview, Karen explained the first time this happened during a doctor's visit. Quote, "Dr. O'Connor said, 'Karen, what are you doing? Your hand's undressing you.' Until he said that, I had no idea that my left hand was opening up the buttons on my shirt. So I started rebuttoning with the right hand, and as soon as I stopped, the left hand started unbuttoning them. So he put an emergency
Wow.
call through to one of the other doctors and said, 'Mike, you've got to get here right away. We've got a problem.' She also explained how it now hinders her day-to-day life, stating, 'I'd light a cigarette, balance it on an ashtray, and then my left hand would reach forward and stub it out. It would take things out of my handbag and I wouldn't realize, so I would walk away.
What?
I lost a lot of things before I realized what was going on. Worst of all, the left hand sometimes lashed out against Karen and started attacking her out of the blue.' Ultimately, if the split brain theory is true,
Bro, that's crazy. They always say like when you get sick or we'll say you have like a mental disorder or you have a cancer, whatever the fuck, your body is going against you. Nah, this is your body going against you. Your body can knock you, just choke you out, try to knock you out. Damn. That's really your body going against you, dude.
it brings up some unnerving questions about who we are. But as creepy as some of the implications are, I doubt we'll get concrete answers anytime soon, since this disorder is so rare that it's hard to study. Plus, our brain is way too complex to fully understand with our current medical technology. Cotard syndrome. Cotard
What?
syndrome, also known as Cotard delusion or walking corpse syndrome, is a rare mental disorder where a person believes that they're dead, don't exist, or have somehow lost their internal organs or blood. It
What
was
the
discovered by
fuck?
Jules Cotard, a French neurologist.
Yo, I'm gonna after this one, this little syndrome, was it Cotard? Whatever syndrome this is, I'm gonna do a part 2 to this, because I want to. That's the reason why. It's late as fuck. I gotta work tomorrow, and I'm gonna pick this shit up in the morning, part 2. Not in this video, in another video, and I'm gonna drop that sometime whenever. Uh, yeah, it's most likely gonna be out once. It's gonna be out.
Who first described this condition in 1880. He described this disorder as a previously unrecognized form of depression, noting that those affected exhibited many traits commonly seen
Let me
in
go
illness
all the way
called
back, 'cause-
syndrome. Cotard syndrome, also known as
Cotard
Cotard delusion
syndrome.
or walking corpse syndrome, is a rare mental disorder where a person believes that they're dead, don't exist, or have somehow lost their internal organs or blood. It was discovered by Jules
Damn.
Cotard, a French neurologist who first described this condition in 1880. He described this disorder as a previously unrecognized form of depression, noting that those affected exhibited many traits commonly seen in individuals with severe depression. They would stop taking care of themselves, become emotionless, and drive zero enjoyment out of activities they used to enjoy before. But later studies confirmed that the walking corpse syndrome wasn't a disorder on its own. Instead, it was the result of extreme depression and anxiety leading to psychosis and schizophrenia. Near-death experiences can also have a similar effect, where someone regains consciousness after getting very close to death or even dying for a few minutes before getting resuscitated by doctors. Something like this happened to Army veteran Warren McKinley, who got in a horrible motorcycle accident.
Damn.
And while he survived the accident, the resulting stress and head trauma in his frontal lobe caused him to develop the walking corpse syndrome.
What I felt was, what's the point?
And that's how you felt emotionally. What's the point?
Why I was at Headley Court and they were trying to help me and
To rehab you.
and
Yeah.
I was just,
You felt like a ghost, didn't you?
what's the point?
Like a ghost dead man walking.
More modern examinations have also discovered a strong correlation between Cotard syndrome and damage to parts of the brain responsible for recognizing faces. So, when an already anxious person sees themselves in a mirror, they can't recognize themselves and reach the delusional conclusion that they must be dead. Researchers also mapped out the 3 key stages of Cotard syndrome. And the scary thing is, it starts off as practically indistinguishable from regular depression in what's known as the germination stage. During this stage, the patients experience symptoms like insomnia, loneliness, and the loss of interest in both their home and work life. The next stage is known as the blooming stage. This is where the symptoms quickly mold into something that can be recognized as Cotard syndrome. During this stage, patients often claim that they have missing or rotting body parts, that they're already dead, or in some severe cases, that they don't exist anymore. The final and the most terrifying stage of Cotard syndrome is called the chronic stage. At this point, the delusions of death
Your
become
brain can
ingrained in the
convince
patient's
you
mind,
of
leading them to refusing
anything.
any and all help from others and denying their reality. Once a person reaches this stage, it becomes extremely difficult to rehabilitate them, since in their mind, what's the point? They're already dead. And while there are some exceptions,
It's like the brain is very, not even the brain, it's just like the body's very fragile. You have to give it what it actually needs. And if you don't, you're going to have consequences of that shit, you know, in every form, physically and actually mentally. Like, people don't think about it, they don't talk about it, but like the fact that you can get to that fucking state, I've been very depressed, I've been very anxiety, like all that shit. But I ain't never felt like I had dead body parts, my nigga. Like that shit. But the fact that your brain can convince you of it is crazy to me and it's sad. I mean, I know I've dissociated so hard that I just, you know, would daydream my whole life away and just be in a different realm in my mind and just escape like that. I know I've done that. Uh, I've been in a very dark depression, but nothing like that. Nothing like that. Nothing to the point where I feel like I felt like I was going to die. I feel like I'm probably gonna die soon, and I want to die soon. I felt that, but as far as like me being dead or having dead flesh, I've never felt that way. So, the brain is very fucking fragile.
most patients at this stage end up in one of 2 distinct camps. For about 55% of the patients, the main symptom of Cotard syndrome is a delusion of immortality. They believe that they've lost vital organs. However, they're also still mindful enough to notice that their body is still moving. Under normal
Interesting.
circumstances, they'd see the proof of their body working fine and come to the rational conclusion that they still have every vital organ. Unfortunately, the psychosis caused by Cotard syndrome leads them to a very destructive realization that they're functionally immortal. This was exactly the case for the 43-year-old woman whose condition led to Jules Cotard discovering the syndrome, someone he referred to as Mademoiselle X. In his case report, Jules described Mademoiselle X's condition in detail, stating, "Mademoiselle X affirms she has no brain, no nerves, no chest, no stomach, no intestines. There's only
Damn.
skin and bones of a decomposing body. She has no soul. God does not exist, neither the devil. She's nothing more than a decomposing body and has no need to eat for a living. She cannot die a natural death. She exists eternally if she's not burned. The fire will be the only solution for her." Unfortunately,
Damn.
Jules didn't have any way to treat this woman at the time. She later passed away from starvation after refusing to eat anything.
Oh my god.
Love Roblox? Earn Roblox digital gift cards with Microsoft Reward.
And while the people suffering from this form of cotards might find some solace in the delusion that they can't die, the second group's life becomes an unending nightmare. The most disturbing case of this I came across involved a 65-year-old retired teacher referred to as Mr. B in the case report to protect his privacy. Let's call him Brian for simplicity's sake. Sometime in early 2010, Brian started experiencing a
There's a
multitude
fucking
of
weed in my
negative
mouth.
symptoms, including sadness, poor socialization, anxiety, decreased sleep and appetite, ideas of worthlessness, and guilt. However, it wasn't long before these symptoms developed further with delusions of catastrophe, nihilism, and persecution. He also began feeling like he had lost every asset and had become extremely poor as a result. But things were about to get a whole lot worse, because soon after, Brian started saying that his organs weren't working anymore, his brain had stopped functioning, and his house had developed cracks and was going to fall down. This feeling of nihilism became so unbearable that Brian tried to end his life. Fortunately, his attempt was unsuccessful, and he was admitted to a hospital. Family members also found a final note in his room which revealed that he wanted to end himself because he feared he might spread a deadly infection to the people in his village. Even after being admitted to the hospital, Brian attempted to end everything 2 more times before becoming fully convinced that he was already dead and refusing to eat. The only silver lining in this case is that doctors were able to diagnose his condition as Cotard syndrome on time and treat
Damn. That is so fucked up. And it's like he cares for his family enough to be like, "Hey, I'm gonna step away." But damn, feeling that down. She feel bad for him. Like that is what extreme depression looks like. They're right.
him accordingly. This was a significant development, especially when you consider that unlike 140 years ago when Jules Cotard first discovered the syndrome, treatment options were virtually non-existent. And while Cotard syndrome is not officially recognized as a mental illness in official manuals like the DSM-5 and the ICD-10 by the World Health Organization, I came across several studies that suggest treating this syndrome is possible. And not only possible, but increasingly effective today with methods like electroconvulsive treatment and psychiatric medication. And with advances in brain imaging technology, we can hopefully gain a deeper understanding of the causes of Cotard syndrome and find ways to prevent it completely.
Good. But that's it for this video, man. Like I said, there's gonna be a part 2 to this video, but it's gonna be I'm gonna upload it randomly. It's not gonna be like the next video uploaded, but if anyone watch this, that shit uploaded. I'm gonna link it in the description below. All right, that's it for this video. Peace.